The day Amanda's HOA neighbor Karen tried to have her car towed from her own driveway was the day Karen's entitled reign of terror would come crashing down. What Karen didn't know was that Amanda had secretly recorded their explosive confrontation, and she was ready to make Karen pay for her outrageous abuse of power. Amanda pulled into her driveway, exhausted after a long day at work. As she got out of her car, she froze. A tow truck was already hooking up her vehicle. Her heart pounded as she approached the scene. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" Amanda shouted. The tow truck driver turned around, a smug grin on his face. "Sorry, ma'am. I've got orders from the HOA to impound any unauthorized vehicles in this driveway." Amanda's eyes went wide with disbelief. "Unauthorized? This is my house. This is my driveway." Just then, Amanda's neighbor Karen emerged from her front door, a triumphant smile plastered across her face. Well, if it isn't little Amanda," Karen sneered. "I told you we don't allow extra vehicles to be parked in the driveway. This is a violation of the HOA rules." Amanda clenched her fists, her blood boiling. "This is my car, in my own driveway. You have no right to have it towed." Karen let out a shrill laugh. "Oh, I have every right. As the HOA president, I can do whatever I want. Now step aside before I have you arrested for interfering." Amanda's mind raced. She knew she had to stand her ground, but the threat of arrest terrified her. Suddenly, an idea flashed in her mind. Reaching into her pocket, she pulled out her phone and hit the record button. "You know what, Karen? I'm not going anywhere. In fact, I'm going to record this whole interaction, so everyone can see how you abuse your power." Karen's eyes narrowed. "You dare defy me? I'll have you thrown in jail for this." The tow truck driver hesitated, glancing nervously between the two women. Amanda seized the moment. "Karen, if you don't call off this tow truck right now, I'm going to the police. And I have it all on video." Karen's face turned beet red with rage. She opened her mouth to respond, but suddenly realized the trap she had walked into. With a defeated huff, she gestured to the tow truck driver. "Fine. Let the car go. We'll deal with this another way." As the tow truck pulled away, Amanda felt a surge of triumph. But she knew this was just the beginning of her battle against the tyrannical HOA president. Karen would not give up easily, and Amanda would have to be even more vigilant to protect her rights. The next morning, Amanda woke up with a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach. She knew Karen wouldn't let this go so easily. Sure enough, as she opened her front door to get the newspaper, she found an official-looking envelope taped to it. "What now?" she muttered, ripping it open. Inside was a formal notice from the HOA, citing her for unauthorized vehicle storage and demanding she remove her car from the driveway within 48 hours. Failure to comply would result in fines and potential legal action. Amanda crumpled the notice in her hand, her face flushed with anger. This means war. Later that day, Amanda marched over to the HOA office, her phone recording every step. Karen was sitting behind the front desk, a self-satisfied grin on her face. Well, if it isn't our little rule breaker," Karen taunted. "I'd assume you're here about that notice we sent you." "You can't do this, Karen," Amanda said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I have every right to park my car in my own driveway." Karen leaned back in her chair, folding her arms. According to the HOA bylaws, no resident is allowed to store any unauthorized vehicles on their property. Your car is in violation, and we're well within our rights to have it removed. "This is ridiculous," Amanda exclaimed. "You're abusing your power as president. Everyone in the neighborhood knows you have it out for me." "Watch your tone, young lady," Karen snapped. "I am simply enforcing the rules that everyone else in this community follows. If you have a problem with that, you can take it up with the board." Amanda took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "Okay, fine. I want to schedule a meeting with the full HOA board then. I'm going to fight this. Karen's eyes narrowed. Good luck with that. The board is firmly on my side. You're wasting your time. As Amanda turned to leave, Karen called out one last jab. Oh, and by the way, I'd be careful about recording people without their consent. That could get you into some serious trouble. Amanda's grip tightened on her phone, her knuckles turning white. She knew Karen was trying to intimidate her, but she refused to back down. This was her home, her driveway, and she was determined to protect her rights, no matter what it took. Over the next few days, Amanda worked tirelessly to build her case against the HOA. She pored over the bylaws, looking for any loopholes or ambiguities she could use to her advantage. She also reached out to her neighbors, hoping to rally support and expose Karen's abuse of power. To her surprise, many of them were eager to help. It seemed that Karen's tyrannical reign had rubbed more than a few people the wrong way. Several neighbors came forward with their own stories of HOA harassment and unfair treatment. Armed with this evidence, Amanda scheduled a meeting with the full HOA board. As she entered the stuffy conference room, she felt a surge of determination. This was her chance to finally stand up to Karen and put an end to her reign of terror. Karen was sitting at the head of the table, flanked by the other board members. She eyed Amanda with a mixture of disdain and apprehension. Thank you all for being here today, Amanda began, her voice firm and confident. I'm here to discuss the recent notice I received regarding my car in my driveway. She paused, making eye contact with each board member. I want to make it clear that I have every right to park my vehicle in my own driveway. The HOA bylaws do not explicitly prohibit this, and I have the full support of my neighbors who have also experienced similar abuses of power. Karen scoffed, rolling her eyes. This is ridiculous. The bylaws are clear, and we're simply enforcing them. You're the one breaking the rules here, not us. Amanda held up her hand, silencing Karen. I have the recordings to prove that you, as the HOA president, have been using your position to harass and intimidate me and other residents. This is an abuse of power, and I'm prepared to take legal action if necessary. The board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, exchanging nervous glances. Amanda could see the doubt and uncertainty creeping into their expressions. I'm not going to back down on this, Amanda continued, her voice rising with conviction. Either you rescind the violation notice and stop this harassment, or I'll have no choice but to take this to the authorities. Karen's face flushed with anger, but she could see the writing on the wall. The other board members were clearly wavering, and she knew she couldn't afford to lose their support. With a reluctant sigh, she nodded. Fine, we'll drop the violation. But don't think this is over, Amanda. You'll regret crossing me. As Amanda left the meeting, a small smile played on her lips. She knew this was just the beginning of her battle against the tyrannical HOA, but for now, she had won a significant victory. For the next few weeks, Amanda breathed a sigh of relief. Karen and the HOA had backed off, and she was able to park her car in her driveway without incident. However, she knew it was only a temporary truce. One morning, as Amanda was getting ready for work, her phone suddenly started ringing. It was her neighbor, Mrs. Sutton, sounding frantic. Amanda, you need to get home right away. Karen and the tow truck are back in your driveway. Amanda's heart sank. What? I'll be right there. She raced home, her mind racing with panic and fury. As she turned the corner, she could see the tow truck hitched up to her car, Karen standing nearby with a triumphant grin. What do you think you're doing? Amanda shouted, running up to the scene. Karen held up a hand, her smile widening. Well, if it isn't our little rule breaker. It seems you've conveniently forgotten about that outstanding violation we issued. Time to tow this vehicle. Amanda felt her blood boil. I already told you, this is my car, in my own driveway. You have no right to do this. Oh, but we do, Karen replied smugly. You see, the board has decided to take a zero-tolerance approach to HOA violations. and since you refuse to remove the car, we have no choice but to impound it." Amanda frantically looked around, hoping to find anyone, who would back her up. But the street was empty, save for a few curious onlookers. "This is ridiculous," she cried. "You're abusing your power, and I have it all on video." Karen let out a harsh laugh. "Video? Oh, my dear, sweet Amanda. Did you really think I wouldn't find a way to get around that little trick of yours?" She pulled a small device from her pocket, a triumphant gleam in her eye. "This is a signal jammer. It's been blocking your phone signal and preventing you from recording anything. You see, I'm always one step ahead." Amanda felt a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach. She was completely powerless against Karen's machinations. As the tow truck driver prepared to haul away her car, she knew she had to do something. But what? Panic and desperation gripped Amanda as she watched the tow truck driver prepare to haul away her car. Karen stood by, her smug expression mocking Amanda's helplessness. Suddenly, an idea flashed in Amanda's mind. She whirled around, spotting her neighbor Mrs. Sutton watching from her porch. "Mrs. Sutton, please, you have to help me," Amanda pleaded. "Karen's using a signal jammer to block my phone. I can't record anything." Mrs. Sutton's eyes widened with understanding. "Oh, the nerve of that woman. Hold on, dear. I've got just the thing." The elderly woman rushed back into her house and emerged a moment later, holding a small device. "This is an old cell phone jammer I used to use when my grandkids wouldn't get off their devices," she explained, handing it to Amanda. "It should counteract Karen's little trick." Amanda's face lit up with hope. "Thank you, Mrs. Sutton. You're a lifesaver." Turning back to the driveway, Amanda quickly activated the jammer, cutting off Karen's signal. Triumphantly, she whipped out her phone and started recording. "All right, Karen, your little scheme is over. Everyone's going to see how you're abusing your power as HOA president." Karen's smug expression morphed into one of pure rage. "What? How dare you?" she screeched. "I have you on video, Karen," Amanda said calmly. "Attempting to illegally tow a resident's vehicle from their own driveway. I'm calling the police." Karen's face turned beet red as she realized her plan had backfired. "You can't do this. I'm the president of the HOA, and I have the right to enforce the bylaws." "Not when you're using illegal tactics and abusing your authority," Amanda shot back. "The police are going to have a field day with this." True to her word, Amanda placed the call, and within minutes, flashing blue lights appeared down the street. As the officers approached, Karen's confidence quickly crumbled. "Ma'am, we've received a report of attempted vehicle theft and abuse of power," one of the officers said sternly. "Would you care to explain what's going on here?" Karen's lips trembled as she tried to formulate a response, but the incriminating video evidence left her with no choice. Defeated, she could only watch as the tow truck driver unhooked Amanda's car, and the officers placed her under arrest. As Karen was led away in handcuffs, Amanda couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction. Finally, the tables had turned, and the HOA tyrant was getting a taste of her own medicine. The aftermath of Karen's arrest sent shockwaves through the entire neighborhood. As the news spread, Amanda found herself the center of attention, both from sympathetic neighbors and the local media. "I can't believe that woman actually tried to have your car towed from your own driveway," Mrs. Sutton said, shaking her head in disbelief. "And using a signal jammer to block your recording. The nerve of her." Amanda nodded, still processing the events of the day. "I know. I still can't believe it worked. If you hadn't helped me with that cell phone jammer, I don't know what I would have done." Mrs. Sutton patted Amanda's hand. "Well, you stood up to her, dear, and now she's facing the consequences of her actions. I just hope this teaches her a lesson about abusing her power." Just then, a news crew arrived, eager to interview Amanda about the confrontation. She reluctantly agreed, knowing that sharing her story could help expose the corruption within the HOA. It's been an absolute nightmare living under Karen's reign as HOA president, Amanda told the reporter. She's used her position to harass and intimidate residents, all while claiming to uphold the community's bylaws. But what she was trying to do today, illegally towing my car from my own driveway, that was a step too far. The reporter nodded sympathetically. And you were able to capture the entire incident on video, correct? That must have been crucial evidence in getting the police to arrest Karen. Absolutely, Amanda replied. If it wasn't for my quick-thinking neighbor and her cell phone jammer, Karen would have succeeded in blocking my recording. But I was able to catch the whole thing on tape, and I'm glad I did. This kind of abuse of power can't be tolerated. The interview continued, with Amanda detailing the long history of Karen's misconduct and the HOA's heavy-handed tactics. As the news segment aired that evening, the community was abuzz with reactions, some outraged, others relieved that someone had finally stood up to the tyrant. But for Amanda, the relief was tempered by the knowledge that this was likely just the beginning of her battle. Karen was sure to fight back, and the HOA board would undoubtedly try to rally support. She steeled herself for the challenges ahead, determined to see this through to the end. In the days following Karen's arrest, the community was in an uproar. While many residents were relieved to see the tyrannical HOA president finally face consequences, a vocal contingent rallied to her defense. She was just doing her job. One neighbor shouted at a heated HOA meeting, "Those are the rules, and she has to enforce them." Amanda stood her ground, unflinching in the face of the angry mob. The rules shouldn't be used as a weapon to harass and intimidate residents, she retorted. Karen took things way too far, and she needs to be held accountable. The HOA board, now firmly divided, struggled to maintain order. Some members sided with Amanda, outraged by Karen's blatant abuse of power. Others, fearful of losing the support of the pro-Karen faction, remained silent or even voiced their support for the disgraced president. As the tension escalated, Amanda realized she needed to take her fight to the next level. She reached out to a local advocacy group, seeking legal assistance to challenge the HOA's practices and potentially oust Karen from her position. "This is a clear-cut case of abuse of authority," the group's attorney told her. "We can build a strong case against the HOA and Karen's actions. But it's going to be an uphill battle. They have deep pockets and a lot of influence in the community." Amanda steeled herself, determined to see this through. "I'm ready to do whatever it takes. Karen needs to be stopped, and the HOA needs to be held accountable." With the attorney's guidance, Amanda began gathering more evidence, interviewing neighbors, and building a comprehensive legal strategy. She knew that Karen would fight tooth and nail to maintain her grip on power. But Amanda was no longer willing to back down. As the court date approached, the community remained divided, with tensions running high. Karen, now out on bail, continued to rally her supporters, spreading misinformation and attempting to discredit Amanda's case. But Amanda remained undaunted. She knew that the truth was on her side, and she was ready to face Karen in court, determined to finally bring an end to the HOA's reign of terror. The day of the court hearing arrived, and the courtroom was packed with observers, both supporters of Amanda and Karen's loyalists. As the judge called the case to order, the tension in the room was palpable. Amanda's attorney took the lead, presenting a compelling case that laid bare Karen's abuse of power and the HOA's pattern of intimidation and harassment against residents. He meticulously walked the judge through the video evidence, highlighting Karen's blatant disregard for the rules and her willingness to resort to underhanded tactics. Karen, in turn, tried to mount a defense, arguing that she was simply upholding the HOA bylaws. But the judge was having none of it, repeatedly pressing her on the legality of her actions and the documented history of complaints against her. As the hearing wore on, it became increasingly clear that the scales of justice were tipping in Amanda's favor. The judge listened intently, clearly troubled by the evidence presented. Finally, after hearing closing arguments, the judge delivered his verdict. "This court finds that the defendant, Karen Smith, and the homeowners association she presides over have engaged in a clear and egregious abuse of power, he declared, his voice stern. The tactics used to harass and intimidate the plaintiff, Amanda Wilkins, are completely unacceptable and will not be tolerated. The courtroom erupted in cheers from Amanda's supporters, while Karen's face fell in dismay. The defendant is hereby removed from her position as HOA president, and the association is ordered to undergo a complete restructuring and review of its bylaws and policies, the judge continued. Furthermore, the plaintiff is awarded damages and a permanent injunction against any further harassment or retaliation from the HOA or its representatives. As the judge's gavel came down, signaling the end of the proceedings, Amanda felt a wave of relief and triumph wash over her. She had endured a long and arduous battle, but in the end, justice had prevailed. Walking out of the courthouse, Amanda couldn't help but smile. Karen's reign of terror was finally over, and the community could begin to heal and rebuild. It was a hard-won victory, but one that would echo far beyond the boundaries of their neighborhood.